KKR tended to have Andre Russell come in or someone like a Sunil Narayan come in at two down. So that was a make or break situation for them. If any of them fires, that's your match. If they don't, then you're in a situation of bother.
They needed a breakthrough, right? Chris Morris was doing the job in the first half of the IPL, but Sabrai Shamsi has done it in the international level. Who knows? Perhaps he might do it for Rajasthan Royals too.
I think Arshdeep is a very, very big player in the making, especially because he brings the variety that the Indian team seems to lack.
So hello and welcome everybody. Welcome back to What's Up IPL, and this is the first episode of What's Up IPL for IPL 2021. Well, we've got a very special guest alongside us, and this is not the first time he's making an appearance on our sets. I have with me Ujwal Sachdeva, who is the founder of the 12th Man, as you can see it in Instagram as well as on YouTube and other various social media platforms. And he's someone who's interviewed various cricketers and sport persons like Monty Panesar, Sanjana Ganesan, Vikrant Gupta, and many more. Well, what we are going to do over here is that this is going to be a wrap up of the last 10 days of what happened in IPL 2021. And so, starting off, Ujwal, a very warm welcome to you. How are you? How have you been doing?
Thank you so much for those words, man. And right back at you. For those of you who haven't seen all of his videos yet, he's been with Sanjana Ganesan too. He's been with a lot of renowned guests too. So, love the work that you do as well. And that's why it's always a pleasure to record anything with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for your kind words as well. So, without wasting any time, let's start things off, and we'll start off with the team which is at the bottom of the table, Sunrisers Hyderabad. The team which always heavily depended on the top three, David Warner, Johnny Bairstow, Kane Williamson. The bulk of the runs were scored by these three in the last few seasons, and all of a sudden now off colors. Johnny Bairstow not available. David Warner is an off color. Kane Williamson is having a topsy-turvy IPL season. So, do you think that the middle order is getting exposed of Sunrisers Hyderabad in this way?
Definitely. So, like you said, SRH has always been a top heavy side, and they've always depended a lot on the Warners and the Bairstows. And what that does is that doesn't bring your middle order much to the fray. If you think about it, the season that they won in 2016, that was one of the seasons that their middle order actually performed if their top order failed. There was Yuvraj Singh there. There was a very young Deepak Hooda who was doing a lot of hitting for them. There were a few other names in there. Abhi kya in this situation, in this IPL, Manish Pandey, Kedar Jadhav, the experienced players aren't firing, and you haven't given enough opportunities to Priyam Garg, Abhishek Sharma to expect them to fire for you consistently. And that is when this hole comes up. Bairstow isn't here. Warner is severely out of form. Whatever the team situation in SRH is going on, seems like he's not going to play another match as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, definitely it has exposed SRH's middle order. And I mean, I honestly hope what this does is SRH being a team that isn't in contention anymore. I hope what this does is that it brings Priyam Garg, Abhishek Sharma more in the limelight. They get more opportunities so they can become players for the future for this team.
Absolutely, which is very much to the point from you. And so the next thing I would love to ask is that Jason Roy, who made a debut for Sunrisers Hyderabad. So do you think that playing a match winning 60 or 42 balls, and do you think that Sunrisers Hyderabad made it quite late to include Jason Roy in the lineup? Like things over almost for them.
I understand, but including Jason Roy meant excluding David Warner, and that was always going to be a tough call to make. See, you couldn't have included Jason Roy in place of Johnny Bairstow because Bairstow gives you the wicket-keeping option. They had to keep Saha in place of him. So that makes it very tough to include Jason Roy. David Warner's form has been such that they were forced to do this eventually. But on the bright side, definitely, Jason Roy's inclusion has been a bright spot for them. Although it might just be too soon for us to speak about it. He's just played a match. He has done really well. He played a very mature innings. But we can only hope he keeps doing as well.
Absolutely, as well. So now coming back to the teams which are ahead of Sunrisers Hyderabad, Rajasthan Royals and Punjab Kings. Speaking about both of these teams, firstly about Rajasthan Royals, I would love to say that the fans and the experts are questioning the inclusion of Rian Parag in the playing 11, who is scoring who is going through a ridiculous season this year. So, do you think that someone like a Shivam Dubey should have got more opportunities instead of Rian Parag, and Rian Parag is not filling the seats well, what Rajasthan Royals need?
Right. So, I mean, of course, it is something for the team management to decide, and it's for us to keep talking about it. That's what we love to do. But end of the day, the team management is backing him. Kumar Sangakkara, there was a clip of their dressing room that was released. Kumar Sangakkara was severely backing Riyan Parag, telling him that it's a lean patch, you're a young player, you'll get through this. So probably they want to back their young player. If I were in their shoes, I'd probably think about giving Shivam Dubey a chance only on merit of his batting skills because the team balance that they've created for themselves, they don't really need to include an extra bowler or have Shivam Dubey even give them an over or two because they have plenty of options in there. So probably you could give Shivam Dubey a chance, especially when you can afford these luxuries if your team as a unit is performing really well. If say Rajasthan was at 12 points, you could keep on playing Riyan Parag and nobody would ask about it, right? They'd
Absolutely.
be it's a winning team. Nobody would really question that. But since Rajasthan Royals is losing a few matches, since Riyan Parag could be one of the potential factors for not ending the innings well or for not providing that stability in the middle order, that's why these questions come up. And I think with only 3 matches to go for Rajasthan, I think now it is something that they can try because if you have to change some things. Another thing I think they should be trying is as good as a player Liam Livingstone might be, he's not fired in the IPL yet. And I mean it's tough.
Very
You can't
mentalists.
just come in and take the IPL by a storm, right? Not everybody can do that. And I really hope Livingstone does that in the near future. But with only 3 matches to go, I think Miller and Dubey coming in would be much better for Rajasthan, especially with the experience that Miller would bring in instead of Livingstone. Just something I think because Rajasthan tends to again Rajasthan what they've been doing for the last 2 matches. They've started well, then there's either a Samson standing in there or an Evan Lewis, and the middle order isn't really sticking around with any of them.
Absolutely. And we have seen Samson, he's just sticking around and not getting those partners, to just play through the innings.
Exactly.
And yeah, so that's been the problem for them. Yeah, very much agreeable, Ujwal. And the other thing that I would love to mention about Rajasthan Royals is Chris Morris. He seemed so good in the first half of the
Hmm.
IPL, but now all of a sudden he's not getting those wickets. He's going for runs. Should they try with Shivam Dubey as an all-rounder instead of Chris Morris and perhaps Kieran Tabrai Shamsi, who is also a breakthrough taker. Like we saw in the last match against RCB, like Maxwell and KS Bharat were playing well, and they needed a breakthrough, right? Chris Morris was doing the job in the first half of the IPL, but Tabrai Shamsi has done it in the international level. Who knows? Perhaps he might do it for Rajasthan Royals too.
I would tend to agree with the inclusion of Sabre Shamsi instead of Chris Morris because of the simple fact that Rajasthan isn't short on pace bowlers. If
Yeah,
you look at their attack, Mustafizur Rahman is doing exceptionally well.
extremely well.
Sakaria is doing well. They have the luxury of including Jaydev Unadkat for an odd match. Plus Kartik Tyagi, we all saw what he can do. Right. So I would say that yes, they can do that, but I would definitely not think of replacing Morris with someone like Shivam Dubey because I mean that's what not having match time does to you. So all of these other players, they were either playing international cricket or playing the CPL or playing somewhere or the other. Chris Morris wasn't, right? So you come back, you can't just expect to start where you left off. He was having a great season, but he just seems to have lost it where his radar. All of his half of his deliveries are outside leg, half of his deliveries are outside off. One delivery comes in, that's a good one, right? So that is something that needs to be changed, but not with Shivam Dubey. Because if you think about it, they look towards Chris Morris for their important overs. They want them to bowl him to bowl in the power play. They want him to come in to get a breakthrough. They want him to bowl the death overs. So I mean, you can't put that responsibility on someone like a Shivam Dubey immediately. I hope that happens someday, but definitely not as of now, right? So Tabrez Shamsi can come in with more responsibility given to Mustafizur Rahman and Chetan Sakaria and Kartik Tyagi. That's something they should do. But again, the question then remains that Morris also gives them the luxury of having another finisher, especially with the middle order not firing. So it's a very tricky call for the management what Morris brings to the table, what his exclusion takes out.
Absolutely, it does. And coming back to Punjab Kings this time, and Mayank Agarwal, he was having an injury last day, and seems like KL Rahul is a lone warrior in the batting lineup. Yeah, Deepak Huda scoring bets. Aiden Markram seems really good. But do you think that too much pressure on KL Rahul on the top order for Punjab Kings?
Definitely. So, too much pressure on both KL and Mayank, and if you exclude even one of them, the other one has to take the brunt. Even if you look at the match right before the last match Punjab had before in the first phase of the IPL, KL had to sit out because of his appendix surgery or whatever he had, and Mayank had to play that match. Nobody else really fired. Mayank stood 99 not out at the end of the match. So that's what's happening with the order. Puran, you expect him to bring fireworks like he does everywhere else. Somehow he doesn't do it. Gale at three seemed to work initially, but doesn't seem to be working as of now. Markram, like you said, he's doing really well. Provides the stability. Just something I feel a lot of experts also say, and I tend to agree with. In a match, especially in a match where you don't have the luxury of playing one of these two openers, I wouldn't have opened with Mandeep Singh. Um, Mandeep Singh has done the finishing roles for RCB previously. He could have done that for Punjab at four down. You could have the luxury of opening with Chris Gayle. You give the big man time to settle in. He can play a gem of an innings. We won't be
He can
surprised if
also
he
take
does that.
advantage of the power
And
play.
exactly, he can take advantage of the power play, and I mean that's something the team management should would have thought about. Must be some reason behind it, but in a match where you don't have one of these two openers, I think Gale should open. If you are thinking of someone at one down who can stay there, hit long, you have that replacement now with Aiden Markram.
They did
He's
not.
doing really well. So I think that's something they should do. If Mayank does come back in this match, in the next match for Punjab, hopefully he does. Again, you can stick to the order, but somehow the reliance still remains because there's no bankable player in there except for say a Makram who has had 2 to 3 matches for us to judge.
Yeah, I'm also surprised to see there's no Shah Rukh Khan at number 5 or 6. So are you surprised too?
Exactly. Another thing I was going to say here, I
Yeah,
forgot, is that if you open with Gale and KL when Mayank is in there, instead of Mandeep, you have a Shah Rukh Khan at four down, right?
absolutely.
That player has done really well in the first phase of the IPL. Kings 11 or Punjab Kings now has had several batting collapses, and Shah Rukh Khan rescued them out of one or two in the first phase itself. So if a young player is doing that well, I mean, you should be playing him. Another very quick thing in here is if a young player is doing very well, you should play him. That's why I was very surprised that why Ravi Bishnoi was excluded in Punjab's first match.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I think that happened because of Adil Rashid. You know that how big a
Yeah.
player he is, how big a good name he is. So I think but somehow Ravi Vishnu is doing well, and that's it. Well, the next thing that I would love to say is about Arshdeep Singh. How good, how impressive has Arshdeep Singh been? Not just in this season, in the last 2 or 3 seasons for Punjab Kings.
Right, I was from the school of thought that Ashdeep shouldn't have been a net baller in Sri Lanka. He should have played for the simple reason that he has done it consistently. And
Absolutely,
you know, it's I wouldn't say anything becomes easier when you're playing in a team that performs as a unit, but in a team where the entire unit seems to be failing consistently, if you stand up, you raise your hand over and over again, and you tend to deliver every time. That shows some sort of grit that you have. That shows steely nerves that you are willing to take responsibility. And he has done that, like you said, for not some matches. He's done that for some seasons now. You look
absolutely.
at him bowling all the important overs. KL Rahul depends on him sometimes even more than someone like a Nathan Ellis in the previous match, sometimes even more than
No,
someone
Mohammad
like a
Shami.
Mohammad Shami. Yeah, so he's giving him the 20th over, he's giving him the penultimate over. So Arshdeep seems to have done really well. And I can't recall a match where his bowling cost the team a match, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
last match, Kyron Pollard did take him for a 4 and a 6, and that changed the game. But that was Kyron Pollard, and that can happen to anybody.
And those
Other
were
than
good
that, he has done
deliveries.
really well. Exactly, those were good deliveries. He wasn't bowling loose. You look at the match with Sunrisers Hyderabad. He was the only one who was able to contain Jason Holder. If Jason Holder had got hold of him too, the match was over right there and then. Right.
Absolutely.
So I think Arshdeep is a very very big player in the making, especially because he brings the variety that the Indian team seems to lack. We had the Irfan Pathans and Ashish Nehras and Zaheer Khans for a long time, but after that we haven't seen a left arm pacer being in the spotlight for a while. So I hope Arshdeep is that person for the future. I hope he does that. And I mean, I can't comment for other formats, but I would definitely like to see him in the T20 squad sometime soon.
Absolutely on the same page as well. Very much on the same page. Well, now coming back to Mumbai Indians and Kolkata Knight Riders, the teams which are at number 4 and 5 position. Mumbai Indians starting off with a hat trick of losses in the second phase. Very much usual what they do, and then finally getting a win against Punjab Kings. On the other hand, KKR clinching 3 out of 4 victories in the games they have played so far in the second phase. So for KKR, it has been Venkatesh Iyer, the man who has stood tall at the top of the order. Like KKR was struggling, sometimes with Navin and Gill, sometimes Nitish Rana and Shubman Gill. They were opening with sometimes Rahul Tripathi and Shubman Gill. So,
Yeah.
Venkatesh Iyer, how impressive has he been for you?
Very good. So, I mean, like you said, KKR has been struggling with the opening combination for a while, and taking nothing away from Rahul Tripathi, he has done exceptionally well this time around too. बहुत अच्छा खेल रहे हैं वो. But Venkatesh Iyer is, I mean, he has the license from the team. That's what all the experts talk about repeatedly. With Brendan McCullum being there, they have the clarity of mind that they have to go out and hit out in the power play overs. So he's doing his role to perfection. एंड ही सीम्स टू बी डूइंग एवरीथिंग टू परफेक्शन. बॉल मिला था उनको, वो 2 विकेट भी ले गए पिछले मैच में.
बिल्कुल.
उसके पिछले मैच में 16th ओवर में 4 या 5 रन खा के आ गए थे. सो अभी तक तो everything that he has touched has turned into gold. And I mean, it's always interesting. We always want players to rise in IPL. We love these stories of new players coming in and destroying international quicks, and also I hope that stays again. And what this has also done is that it has pushed down Rahul Tripathi, Nitish Rana. So that order now becomes more stable. Although KKR had all of these people, Morgan hasn't been in form, so I'm not including him in what I talk as of now. But KKR tended to have Andre Russell come in, or someone like a Sunil Narayan come in at 2 down. So that was a make or break situation for them. If any of them fires, that's your match. If they don't, then you're in a situation of bother. So this move has also brought them stability. Rahul Tripathi has been striking it really well. He's been scoring at a great strike rate, but he's a clean striker. He doesn't take unnecessary risks. Same with someone like a Nitish Rana. So that's a lot of stability for KKR in there, and their approach this season. I mean, I would love to see them go all the way from here. It would be a story for the ages.
Yeah, absolutely. They really look very well and very clear-minded and in good space too. Well, coming to
Yeah.
Mumbai Indians, things weren't quite going well for the Mumbai Indians in second phase. Ishan Kishan and Suryakumar Yadav are the big point, talks that is going on at the moment. What is your point of view about the form of Sky and Ishan Kishan?
Right. First of all, let me just say it's been a while since I've talked about Mumbai Indians being in the middle of the table. It's usually we talk about them at the end.
Yeah,
So it's good to see some variety coming in the IPL teams doing better and overpowering Mumbai Indians as well. Anyhow, the big talking point remains the form of Surya Kumar Yadav and Ishan Kishan, more so because they are India's selects for the World T20. So,
absolutely.
I mean, Ishan Kishan, perhaps the selector said that he made it to the squad as a backup opener plus as a backup wicketkeeper. I hope he finds form again, but with about 10 days to go and Mumbai Indians not playing him also, it might just be one of the changes we see in the World T20 squad because of the fact that KL Rahul can be a backup wicketkeeper, and if you're looking for a backup opener, there are plenty of options you could pick from as of now. And I would just say with Surya Kumar Yadav, things change a lot. He is a major part of the plan of India's plan leading up to the World Cup. We have repeatedly talked about intent and repeatedly talked about scoring runs in over 7 to 15, and Surya Kumar Yadav has been in the fray of all of that. And since he's come to the squad, we've seen the difference in India's scoring rate in the middle overs. So I mean, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, but I think I'm pretty sure that Suryakumar Yadav would definitely retain his place in the squad and probably start with the first 11 as well eventually as a number 4 batsman. So I, as an Indian fan, honestly hope that Surya Kumar Yadav finds form really soon. And I also really hope that we see Surya Kumar Yadav from IPL 2019-2020 coming in. And I wouldn't really mind if we don't see that in the IPL and he's just saving it all for the World Cup. But come the time, he has to rise to the situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you're speaking the heart out of the billions of people in India.
Yeah.
All right. So coming back to the top three now, Royal Challengers Bangalore, Delhi Capitals, Chennai Super Kings, Royal Challengers Bangalore, and Delhi Capitals first. Now these two are the teams. They have done well. Delhi Capitals have really done well. RCB sometimes losing their pace. But what's the talking point? I feel that for RCB and DC, they have got a similar weakness in the lineup. If you look at the number 6 and number 7, they are not great batters. Like they are not specialist batters, and they are like things haven't gone well with the batting at number 6 and 7. If you look at for RCB, it's I feel it's sometimes Shahbaz Ahmed, it's sometimes Dan Christian, it's sometimes Kyle Jamieson, and for the other one is Delhi Capitals. If you look at Lalit Yadav and Akshay Patel, haven't really fired with the bat. Akshay Patel did in the previous season, but not this season. Your thoughts on it? So do you think that like what I meant to say is that if somehow there is a collapse in our playoffs perhaps, so do you think that DC might look back and try to fill that place well? What kind of options?
Right, so I completely agree with you when we talk about RCB. For Delhi Capitals, however, as of now, when they have probably qualified already, I mean, they have qualified even though there is not a Q next to their name yet. Um, the thing is that they're playing Lalit Yadav because of an injury to Marcus Stoinis, and they expect him to be back for the playoffs. If that happens, that void that we see now would be filled up again because of the simple fact that when Marcus Stoinis comes in, he bats at 5 for them, and Shimron Hetmeyer is pushed back to number 6. And that is a good balance to have. You can have Marcus Stoinis and Shimron Hetmeyer as your number 5 and 6 at any point in time. You'd love to have a team like that. Um, if in case Stoinis does not get back to playing for the team, I think what you say is a very, very valid concern. If you are into the playoffs and you're playing at say 40 for 4 with Lalit Yadav in there and say a 50 for 5 with Lalit Yadav and Akshar Patel in there, then you just want your bowling to fire. You don't expect you to reach from 50 to 5 to perhaps say a 150 or a 160 because they Lalit Yadav hasn't had as much match time as good as a batsman he may be. Akshar Patel he blows hot and cold. He tends to hit a few sixes and he probably will lose his wicket too. That's what happens. I am not saying it would. So that is a very valid concern for them and for RCB as well. So Maxwell seems to have done really well as a Punjab Kings fan. I hate it, but as a fan of cricket, I love it. But if Maxwell and ABD seem to keep this up, they probably don't even need to go to number 4 and 5 and number
Five
five,
and six,
six and
yeah,
seven. I
yeah,
mean,
6 and
yeah, and if they don't, I mean, they still have Dan Christian in there, who is a proven performer. Um, Comes with the lucky charm of performing in all the good matches, all the playoffs, and comes with the lucky charm of lifting the trophy. So probably I think Dan Christian is the answer to the problems. He needs to get in form. That's the only answer in here. And one more talking point, if I can add, we were talking about the talking
yeah.
points for RCB and DC. I want your opinion. What is going on with Harshal Patel? Do you think he's going to break the record for the most wickets in the season?
Well, that's a tough call. That's a tough call. Yeah, why not? Why not? He can surely surpass DJ Bravo, but also I think now the pitches are turning out to be slower ones, and it's not it's moisture free, not that moisture at times. You know, at times in the evening there is, but now the wickets are now as more as the game goes on progressing, as the game gets progresses, so the wickets are trying out to be drier, especially in Sharjah. So I think RCB, the more the match play in Sharjah, I think it's more better for Harshal Patel to pick more wickets. He's bowling the slog overs, and their batters tend to go after him. And it's quite obvious out of in 80% of the days, you know, you'll see that two out of 10 balls you try to hit and you get caught. And Harshal Patel
Yeah.
bowls at least 2 overs at the end. So it won't be a surprise to see Harshal Patel, getting the most highest number of wickets in the history of IPL.
Yeah, he's leading by quite a margin, 26 wickets. The next
Yeah.
one in there is, I think, at 15 or 16.
16.
Great to see.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Avesh Khan.
yeah,
So yeah, by 10 wickets margin, that's simply impeccable.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ujwal, the next thing and the last question for now is about the Chennai Super Kings. Only one question: how to beat Chennai Super Kings in this season of IPL 2021? What should be the mantra?
Um, if you even if you exclude in this season from your question, how to if the question is just how to beat Chennai Super Kings, teams didn't know that for 12 seasons. For the 13th season, somehow Chennai Super Kings was losing. Somehow they ended up seventh or eighth last season, and it seemed like Chennai will have to revamp their entire squad. They will have to think of a lot of things. Not much they changed, honestly. They backed Ruturaj Gaikwad at the top. Brilliant decision. They chose to have Moeen Ali instead of Raina at number three. Must have been a very tough call to make. If somebody has batted at number three for you for 12, 13 years, you ask
Absolutely.
that person to step down, you ask someone like a Moeen Ali to step up. Um, they've made the tough calls and they've made sure that whatever gaps they had, they didn't really change the dynamic of the squad. They just picked players and backed players at the right position. So that's something that we know MSD, Stephen Fleming, they tend to do. And one odd time it didn't work out in the last season, but they're back to their winning ways. And how do you beat them? I mean, if I had an answer, I would be working as an analyst for one of these teams. If they don't have an answer yet, how can I give that to you?
All right, Ujjwal, all right. So yeah, tough question, right? All right, guys, in the comment section below, I would love to hear your answers too. Okay, so how can one beat Chennai Super Kings? How to exploit this team? What do you think, guys? I'm waiting for your I'm waiting for your solution. Your comment box in the comment section down below. Well, before we end things off, the last thing for a last question for Ujjwal, your top four for the playoffs in IPL, the mandatory one.
Okay,
C- CSK and DC is
there,
almost done.
there's CSK and DC definitely there. RCB 2 with 14 points now. I think they're definitely getting in. The last team stays between KKR, MI, and Kings 11, Punjab Kings as of now. I would say as of now, it definitely looks like KKR. They've adopted a very good approach, and I would say KKR. We probably might see KKR in the finals as well this time. But if I had to pour my heart out, I would say the fourth team
Punjab
would be
Kings.
Punjab Kings. Yeah,
I got you. All right. Yeah, see, there can be miracles, but we have seen Punjab Kings like in the last two seasons. They are at the end, like they are dragging themselves very much nearer, but in the end, all despair.
yeah.
So maybe things not going well for Punjab Kings. They changed the logo. They changed the jersey color. They made it like RCB, and still not working. Well, let's see. All right. So thank you so much, Ujjwal, for your time over here. It was a pleasure to have you.
Loved it.
And yeah, as we expect some more sessions like this in the near future. World Cup is soon. And yeah, so guys, each and everybody, I think you have enjoyed this session. And if and at the end, do not forget to subscribe this channel, Cricket Reborn, share this video, and yes, Ujjwal does a very good work as the 12th man in the Instagram as well as on YouTube. Instagram is very much regular there. He gives all the regular updates of IPL. Make sure you just hit the follow button over there. Help him, support him, and yes, coming back with a very new video very soon. Until then, goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.